Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Today we're taking a look at this Hallicrafters WR700. It has a horrible hum, 60 cycle hum when it's plugged into the mains here. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys hear what this thing sounds like. I'm going to work on the audio so it doesn't blow your speakers out here, but yeah, you can kind of hear it there. It gets worse as it warms up. Changing FM AM doesn't do anything. Tuning the control knob doesn't do anything. And just in a second here, it gets really loud. So yeah, that's DC getting onto the plates of the tube. So we don't want to damage the tube. So I'm going to shut this down and get into it and see if we could figure out what's going on. Overall, it's in pretty nice shape. So it's a good candidate. It's got a chingus here on the side, a little scratch on the top. But overall, it looks really nice. I've only just wiped this down with some furniture polish, but even the grill here, yeah, the grill's in really nice shape. I'm impressed with the way it looks here. Again, I haven't done any cleaning on this, so here's a shot of the back of it. So basically what I want to do is get this thing apart and see what we see. I've got a few capacitors that are inside here that I believe are going to be well beyond their prime. So I'm going to get this thing switched, flipped around here, take some of these screws out, and, well, see what we have on the inside of this. I'm going to go ahead and speed through this. And the last one, and we'll pop this lid off. This lid is really unique in that it has its power cord mounted to it. Yeah, see these capacitors in here, they're definitely old. So this is going to have to come out of the wooden case here. So looks like we've got, I don't know, 6, 7 screws here in order to get this board out of the wooden case that it's in. A couple more down here. These are a little awkward to get to. Yeah, you can see it's just now starting to come out. So I think we got it here. Get this one all the way out, and it's still held up. It's this trim right here. See this front piece? There's a couple small screws holding in this trim piece. And yeah, now we got it. This tube right here, this is kind of in the way. So you have to do a little gymnastics to get this thing out. You have to lift up one corner while dropping the other corner, and there you go, just like that. So if you ever work on one of these, that's how you get this out without trying to take that tube out. Now that we've got this out, we can kind of see what we're dealing with, and check out these old capacitors here. Well, look at this. This is the trim that was holding it in. We'll get that out of the way. I'll move my tools, kind of clear up this desk, and really look at these capacitors, because this is what I'm suspecting is going to be the problem. We've got this big electrolytic here, and this is really... Another one here, and you can see one way down in the bottom here. I'll try to give you guys a little better shot of that. It's a wax and paper cap. All three of these are well beyond their years. So here's the few capacitors that we're going to be changing out. I kind of drew up a little diagram off camera so I know exactly what I'm doing. And this one first is the one that we're going to change. And what I'm using here is not ideal. Normally, you'll find a capacitor that has long legs. In this case, it's a short leg version, but it's all I had that was in 600 volts. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting this one out here, this 0.03 at 600, and you'll see here that I've cut the ends really short. And what I did was I left the legs coming through, and then I'm going to mount them to the legs of this capacitor. So again, it's not ideal, but it's the only 600 volt that I have. These are really odd values. We don't use anything. Most new stereos, they don't use 600 volt capacitors. So it's kind of, these are pretty precious. So I don't want to just waste capacitors here. So what I'm doing is I'm just straightening out these legs, and then I'm tinning them here, and I'm going to solder these legs to the legs that are coming up through the chassis. So again, not the most ideal, but it does allow me to use one of the 600 volt poly capacitors that I have, and that's a Sprague capacitor, so it's a really good one. Next here we've got this big electrolytic, And this one's a little unique in that it's 2 electrolytics in one. So right now I'm just kind of looking to see where these legs come through, make sure I desolder them the right terminals. And yeah, using my solder sucker is not going to do it. This solder is quite old. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flow some fresh solder on these. And though it seems counterintuitive to do that, it is really a best practice. Put some fresh solder on it. It's not really wasteful. You are sucking it off when you're done. But it's really important to put fresh solder. It really heats up the joint and makes for easy removal, or much easier removal. So much so that I'm just kind of wiggling the cap here while heating these pads, gently wiggling it back and forth, and just like that, the capacitor is out. So it's a quick and easy way to get them out. And this is it here. So it's 2 80 microfarad at 150 volt capacitors, with pin number 3 being a common negative. Yeah, looking at this here, it is well beyond its years. So something that you can do here is you can take 2 capacitors and then twist the legs together. I'll show you that here in just a bit. Right now I'm just marking to make sure where number 3 was on that negative ground plane. So I'm going to take these 2 capacitors, put the 2 negatives together, and you can tell it's negative by that big gray stripe on the side. And then by twisting these together, now I have a very similar setup as to what was in there. I have 2 80 microfarad capacitors that have a common negative. So now that those are twisted, I'm just going to flow a little solder on this, fit it into its space here, and then I'll hold it in place while I flip it upside down. And once I bend these tabs and just solder one of them, then it'll usually stay put. I'm putting a little flux on these, and you can see I'm still holding it until this one sets. And now that it's set, it's not going to go anywhere. So then I could take my time and just solder the rest of these legs coming through the board. I'm going to reflow this one here, and this one too, because it's near that ground plane, so it sucks a lot of the heat away. And those are done. So we've got those 2 electrolytics in place of that one big cardboard can. And now we've got this one here, this old paper and wax capacitor, another highly suspect one. And this is what's going to be going in its place. It's a poly capacitor. It's a 400 volt of the same capacitance that we're pulling out of there. So it's a 0.01 at 400 volts. Remember, you can always increase the voltage. So you can see here, 0.01 at 400. So you can always increase the voltage. For example, I could put a 600 volt capacitor where this 400 volt is, but you can't go the other way around. You never want to use a lower voltage than what it's rated for. What I'm doing now is I'm bending these legs while I have the board upside down and I have access to those holes. That allows me to get it into its place a lot easier, because this is really tricky. It's kind of way down in here. The speaker's in the way. But once I get it in there, then I can just kind of bend these legs in from the underside, and now it's held in place. So that's a quick little tip, is to use the upper side of the board to bend your legs, especially if you have to like go a long distance like these are. You can see how far apart they are. It's kind of a good way to do it. I'm going to get those little extra tabs out of the way. And yeah, that did it there. So you can see it down in the bottom there. You can see how far that thing has to span. So that's our 3 capacitors. We've got this sprog here in the bottom. You can see my botched job coming through the board, but it does work well. Again, this is a completely acceptable way to do it, though I wouldn't always do it. There's the electrolytics, and then that third one that we did, the foam and foil with the poly cap that you can see right there. Well, now that the 3 are installed, I can go ahead and get this thing back in its case. First, I got to put this tube in. And remember, tubes always have a key. So look for the key. In this case, the spot that's missing the pin. And then also you'll see the corresponding key right there in the socket. So you don't want to just cram a tube in any old way. It's got to line up. And then once it does here, you're good to go. I'm going to check all these. Yeah, this one's a little wobbly. This one has probably been pulled out half a dozen times or so over the years and replaced. I don't think these tubes are original. Well, now it's time to put this thing back in its case and see if it works. I would test it outside of the case, but because of the way they designed this case, the power cord is attached to the actual panel. So I just find it easier to put this thing back together. It's not that many screws, so I can just kind of put these screws back in, and then I can put the back panel on, which has its power cord. I think they did that a lot for safety, and that way you weren't messing with, because there's some lethal voltages in here. Remember that one capacitor was a 600 volt capacitor, so there's a chance for really, really dangerous voltage. So by the way they designed this lid to have you not have it plugged in when you have the back off is a really smart design. So I'm going to honor the engineer's ingenuity, and I'm going to put this thing together, and we'll put this back case on, and then we'll give it a test. Yeah, and like right now we can plug it in, but I'm just going to throw these last few screws in. Just take an extra minute here. If you've made it through this whole video, I really appreciate your time. If you like this content, check out more videos on my channel, because I don't do a lot of this, but I figured I would just take you guys along for this recapping and see if we could fix this radio up from start to finish. So I'm going to go ahead and get this plugged into my Variac, and, well, let's see how we did. Turn it on here. Well, I'm not hearing the 60 cycle hum, so that's nice. Of course, I'm not hearing anything. FM or AM. Yeah, maybe I made it worse. Let me check the power cord. Well, I don't know if it's worse now because I'm not hearing any hum whatsoever. Turning the wait, I see. So yeah, this knob here is the tone control. Yeah, this thing's really quiet. So this, let me see if I can tune this channel in. If I can get the volume to come up. This pot does volume and tone. And okay, I see. So the front of this knob is the tone, and the back of this knob here is going to be the volume. There you go. So now, yeah, that's better. Ah, very cool. So, yeah, this sounds great. So what you're hearing right now is literally just this radio playing to my microphone that's up above me. Very cool. I don't want to turn it off because this sounds really, really neat. I wonder if this is the last song this radio heard when it was originally shut down, huh? Well, this is the Hallicrafters WR700. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got it working. Now, to get it onto the eBay store. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.